Okay, we need to do Ode on a Grecian Urn, because we did not get to that on Friday. And then the others that we will do today are just two by Robert Frost on 1091 and 1107. The Road Not Taken and Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. For Wednesday, I want you to do, these are all on the syllabus, Scarborough Fair, and I'm going to email you both a page with the lyrics and a sound file of Simon & Garfunkel's rendition, alteration of that. We'll do Kubla Khan, Pied Beauty, and To One Who Has Been Long in City Pent. So we'll do those four on Wednesday. This one pretty much we'll just read because you can't really explain what it means. Nobody really knows. Coleridge was high when he wrote it, and it's incomplete because he got interrupted and didn't finish it. Friday, then, we'll do these four. Passionate Shepherd to His Love, The Nymph's Reply, and then The Lamb and the Tiger, and then we'll go on from there the following. Well, we only meet Monday next week, because next week's Thanksgiving week. Okay, so John Keats, Ode on a Grecian Urn, pages 826 through 27. Like the other ode we read, Ode to the West Wind, it is a lyric of varying kinds of rhyme and meter on a solemn, serious topic using elevated language. This is on a Grecian urn. The urn probably looks something like that and has possibly 4 sections to it. This one has leaves, okay, and then these 3 might have different images in them, which we're going to talk about as we go through it. So you got 5 stanzas. Thou still unravished bride of quietness, thou foster child of silence, lost my place, and slow time, sylvan historian, who canst thus express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme, what leaf-fringed legend haunts about thy shape of deities or immortals, or of both, in Tempe or the vales, let me start over. Man, one of those days. Thou still unravished bride of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow time, sylvan historian, who canst thus express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme. What leaf-fringed legend haunts about thy shape of deities or mortals or of both, in Tempe or the dales of Arcady? What men or gods are these? What maidens loathe? What mad pursuit? What struggle to escape? What pipes and timbrels? What wild ecstasy? Now, all the things that he's talking about are things that, if this is a real urn that Keats is talking about, okay, that are applied to it, okay, in thin marble or alabaster. That is, the urn itself is probably black. You can look them up on the internet, Greek urns. And then it's got this applied or applique to it, this carving-like thing. So what are on there? This is the leaf-fringed legend haunts about thy shape, deities and mortals or both. Okay. So we see various humanoid shapes. What men or gods are these? Are these men or are they gods? Who are the maidens? There's more than one. What mad pursuit? Somebody's pursuing somebody else. What struggle to escape? Somebody's trying to get away. Why? Well, if you know anything about Greek mythology, what often happens? Greek gods rape human women, and sometimes men, and vice versa. Well, humans don't rape them, but you get the idea. So, what pipes and timbrels, what wild ecstasy? Pipes and timbrels. Pipes are pan pipes, shaped like this. long tube, shorter, so that you get differing notes. Okay. What wild ecstasy. Second stanza. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore ye soft pipes play on, not to the sensual ear, but more endeared, pipe to the spirit ditties of no tone. Fair youth, beneath the trees, thou canst not leave thy song, nor ever can those trees be bare. Bold lover, never, never canst thou kiss, though winning near the goal, yet do not grieve. She cannot fade, though thou hast not thy bliss. Forever wilt thou love, and she be fair. So, another image, and what are we told? Somebody is playing a set of these pipes. There's a youth, a boy, sitting beneath a tree, playing these. So heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. The heard melodies, like we hear around us today, but those unheard are sweeter. I think he's suggesting two different sources of those unheard melodies. One, the one on the urn, the guy playing the panpipes, because obviously you don't hear it, because it's not real, so to speak. What's the other one? Well, the other day I talked about the Ptolemaic conception of the universe and the movement of the spheres, and how the movement of the spheres created a sound, created a music, and if you were able to hear that music, you would immediately be taken out of this world and up to the empyrean where God dwells, because that music is so rapturous. Okay? So, that music is sweeter than heard music. This music is sweeter than heard music. Therefore, ye soft pipes, play on. How is this music sweeter than heard? This music sweeter than heard music? What can every musician here do? Screw up. Okay? Hit a note. But here, perfect. So, not to the sensual ear, and then notice the pun, but more endeared. To be endeared to someone is to be especially dear to them, but he's punning on that. Endeared, okay, pipe to the spirit, ditties of no tone. Notice, the ditties, the music, is being piped to what? The soul, not to the ear. Fair youth beneath the trees, thou canst not leave thy song, nor ever can those trees be bare. So, this youth is sitting under the trees, playing his panpipes for how long? As long as this urn exists. As long as this urn exists, he will be frozen in time on it, blowing on these pipes. And what else? The trees will never be bare. Why? It's springtime that is portrayed on the urn. The boughs are full of leaves, so it will be eternal spring on this urn. Bold lover, never, never canst thou kiss, though winning near the goal, yet do not grieve. Well, who's the bold lover? So somewhere in here, you've got a guy standing under the trees playing his pipes, and then somewhere else, you've got a lover pursuing a young lady. Winning near the goal, he's almost got her, but he's not quite reached her. Never, never canst thou kiss. He'll never get what he wants. But don't grieve. Why not? She cannot fade, though thou hast not thy bliss. She cannot fade can have a couple of meanings. One, she'll never disappear. Two, go back to the virgins to make much of time. and to his queen mistress, her beauty will always what? Frozen in time. She'll always be like the speaker of My Last Duchess, his last Duchess on the wall. Youthful. Okay? Forever wilt thou love, you will always love, and she will always be fair. And it might help to know, in most love poetry, written in English at least, one of the ideas that is always brought up is people often cheat on others. So you will never cheat on her, you will always love her, and she will always be fair. Okay, admittedly, she doesn't love him in return. How do you know? She's fleeing. Okay? Stanza 3. A happy, happy boughs. He's talking about the tree branches that cannot shed your leaves, nor ever bid the spring adieu. And happy melodies, back to the piper, unwearied, forever piping songs forever new. More happy love, the lover pursuing the woman, more happy, happy love. Why? Forever warm and still to be enjoyed. Forever warm. Remember, to the virgins to make much of time. That age is best, which is first when youth and love are warmer. Okay? So, forever warm, your love, is forever warm in what? Still to be enjoyed. Still there can mean constantly, but it really implies yet. So, it might be the chaser's love for her that will always be love. He'll always be on fire for her. It could also be what? It could also be the her, the one that's being chased. She will always be warm, hot, and will always what? Still to be enjoyed. Forever panting and forever young. Never dying, never growing old. All breathing human passion far above. That is, he's panting, chasing her, and yet the image on the urn is always far above breathing human passion. Why? Because what happens if we pant too much? If you get so too out of breath? Anybody ever have this happen? Pass out? Can't get enough oxygen? Die? So, all breathing human passion far above that leaves a heart high sorrowful and cloyed. That is, in our real world, do we always, quote unquote, catch the object of our love? No. A burning forehead and a parching tongue. Burning forehead, like you're having hallucinations, you're feverish, okay? And parching tongue, can't get that desire filled, can't get that dryness, that thirst slaked. Stanza 4. Who are these coming to the sacrifice? It's almost like we're now down here. New panel. So something's getting ready to be sacrificed. To what green altar, O mysterious priest, there's a priest, leadst thou that heifer lowing at the sky? So you have a priest leading a cow. And all her silken flanks with garlands dressed. What little town by river or seashore or mountain built with peaceful citadel is emptied of this folk this pious morn? There's people surrounding the priest and the heifer. And I've told all my classes when I teach this, I could swear I've seen this exact urn in the British Museum. Because there is one, I'm pretty sure, that does have an image, and it's in alabaster on this black vase, of a cow being led by a guy, surrounded by people, and in the background, kind of in this landscape, you see a little village and a river leading to the sea, which is pretty much what we have here. Notice, the town is emptied. Why? The people are out there to do their sacrifice. And little towns, thy streets forevermore will silent be, and not a soul to tell why thou art desolate can e'er return. O Attic shape. Attic means from Athens. Okay? Possessing classic Athenian simplicity, but it means from Athens. O Attic shape, fair attitude with breed or design, of marble men and maidens overwrought, with forest branches and the trodden weed, thou silent form. Why? There's no speaker in here. It's not saying anything other than its imagery. Dost tease us out of thought, as doth eternity. Okay. Notice the simile. This urn, say it's this bottle, this urn teases us out of thought. That is, teases us to where thought stops. As doth eternity. Why does, or how does eternity tease us out of thought? Well, thought occurs where? Okay, in your mind. How? I mean, yes, true. By moments, right? It occurs where? In time. Eternity literally means outside time. Can we conceive, really, up here, of it? No, we can't. Why? Because we are creatures of time. We can't really understand what eternity means. He's saying this thing does the same thing. Why? Because this kind of exists outside time. It's frozen. Cold pastoral. Why pastoral? Because the images are all natural images. You've got a shepherd playing his pipes under the tree. You've got a cow being led to a sacrifice. You have people all out in nature. They're not in busy city streets. They're not in a church building. Okay? That's what pastoral means, like pasture. Okay? Out in the country. But this is cold. Most pastoral poetry, it's meant to warm you up, make you feel good about being out in nature, being warmed by the sun and stuff. This is cold. Why? It's purely intellectual. Has nothing to do with the heart, per se. Okay? When old age shall this generation waste. Now, what is this generation? It's Keats, probably in 1819. Now, he dies 2 years later. So you could say old age for him is, 26. Because he doesn't live any longer than that. When old age shall this generation waste, thou shalt remain. That is, as long as nothing happens, as long as the British Museum, isn't robbed, looted, destroyed, etc., this thing will remain. Or it could be like that one Shakespeare sonnet. This poem is the cold pastoral, and as long as this remains, as long as men live and have eyes to see, this lives and gives life to thee, one of his sonnets ends. So, when old age shall this generation waste, thou shalt remain in midst of other woe than ours. In midst of other woe than ours. Well, what other woes? Continental wars in 1819. Okay. What woes do we have that Keats didn't have? International terrorism, I don't know. Electricity going out, they didn't have that problem. What are kind of fairly constant human universal woes? Poverty, hunger, war, prejudice. In midst of other woe than ours, a friend to man, to whom thou sayest. So this cold pastoral, both this and the poem, will say, in the midst of other woes, when life gets really bad, it will say, beauty is truth, truth, beauty. And what does that mean? Because nobody really knows. That is, we don't know exactly what Keats intended us to understand by that. Beauty is truth, truth, beauty. That is all you know on earth and all you need to know. That is, that's the secret to life. Beauty is truth. Okay. So beauty is important. Okay. So what else then? He seems to be suggesting beauty can do what in the midst of woe? Bring joy, bring a little bit of happiness, undercut a little bit of sorrow. Seems to be it. Okay, go from there to, that's one thing, 1091, Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. Now, we've read one other Robert Frost poem already, Acquainted with the Night, which we saw was filled with a lot of imagery, but was also situated or set in town, because the speaker in Acquainted with the Night does what? Spends his time walking down city lanes, right? Well, here we're going to have a speaker also walking. Walking is in many of Frost's poems. Frost lived in Vermont, spent a lot of time outside, almost, I won't say almost all, many of his poems focus on imagery of the natural world, right? So, The Road Not Taken, written in 1916 when he was still pretty young. He was born in, actually he wasn't very young. Where's his biography? Born in 1874. So 26 and 16, he's actually 42. Not so young. How many of you have read this before? Anybody? A couple of you. Now, the title of this poem and the second to the last line have been the, what do I want to call it? The source, the wellspring, the fountain of all kinds of self-help books, how to make decisions for your life books, things like that. We'll talk about whether or not that's appropriate. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked on one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. So, 4 little stanzas. Let's look at it initially from kind of a literal, superficial level. What's the speaker doing? Because the first stanza kind of implies we're going to get a narrative poem. We're going to get a poem that tells a story. So what's the speaker doing in the first stanza? Louder, Lane. Standing at a crossroads. Where? In the woods. So he got up early and went for a walk. Two roads diverged in a what kind of wood? So what time of year is it? It's fall. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. Sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Why? Because he couldn't split himself in two. He couldn't clone himself and go this way, this way. He had to do what? Make a choice. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. So he stands, he's at this point, and the road he's been on, single road, does this. It forks. And so what does he do? He looks down this one as far as he can to see where the road bends off in the undergrowth and disappears. And he took the other just as fair. So he looked down the one, but then he takes the other one. And we're told the other one is just as fair, meaning just as pretty. Looks like a nice fall country walk, just as fair, having the better claim. That is, the better claim on me, like it's calling me. Why? Because it was grassy and wanted wear. Wanted wear means it lacked wear. There's grass growing on this path, and it hasn't been taken. How do we know? Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. So both are about equally worn, even though the one that he ends up taking is grassy and seemed to lack wear. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. That is, on that morning, no one else has done what? Walked this path. No one else has walked this path and either taken the right-hand road or the left-hand road. No one's been there. I kept the first for another day. Exclamation. Why? Notice the tense, by the way. Kept. Why? He's looking what? Looking back. Past tense. What's the speaker saying that the speaker thought he was going to be able to do once he took one of the paths? Come back and then do what? Go follow the other one. If you've ever been for a walk in the woods, national park or whatever, you're backpacking or hiking or whatever, some people, me, will take one and then come back another time, take the path to where it gets there, and go the other way. Why? Because you want to see where that one leads. Is this that kind of walk in the woods, though? The speaker makes it clear. No, it's not a literal walk in the woods. Why? Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. How way leads on to way. He goes off this direction. He looks down here. It bends in the undergrowth. And he takes this one, even though they're both just as fair, and they both look equally trodden. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, that is, this one goes, and what's going to happen? It's going to fork. And this one's going to lead off into the undergrowth, you won't be able to see it, and he's going to go here. And this one's going to fork, and fork, and fork, and fork. That's why he said, knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. We're not talking a literal walk in the woods. Because when you go for a walk in the woods, unless you're really strange, what do you always do? Very simple question. Louder, reach. You go back to where you started. Why? So you can get in your car and go home. Not that kind of walk. What is each one of these forks? A decision. A choice. Okay? And he knows how way leads on to way, meaning you choose this way, and what happens to that decision after that point? That disappears. You never get to come back and redo that decision. Okay? Notice what else happens. Let's say he takes this one. Well, what are all these? These are all the possibilities that flow from this decision. Those are all gone. Now there's going to be what? All these possibilities, etc. So, the speaker says, I doubted, that is, as I was taking it that way, I doubted if I would ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. What's the tense now? Future. So, I took the one, that's past. So where is the speaker on this walk? Still on it. So I'm still on this walk, and I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Why somewhere? What does somewhere lack? An end? Close. A goal? A destination. What's he saying about his journey? I don't know where I'm going. I'm just wondering why. I'm just, I take it as the road comes. I shall be telling this somewhere, this with a sigh. Why with a sigh? Does a sigh imply joy? Happiness? Hopefulness? Not necessarily. And what will he be telling with a sigh? Everything that came before or what comes after? Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. Now notice, when's he going to be saying that? Ages and ages hence. How will he know ages and ages hence? It's the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. How is it the one less traveled by? Well, who's the only one who can walk that road? Himself. Why? Louder.
He's the only one that can make those decisions.
Because I can't walk Lane's road. Lane can't walk my road. Okay? Because I'm not Lane, Lane's not me. Similarly, as the speaker says, I couldn't take them both. I had to choose one. And in choosing, okay, so notice.
Is it essentially them finding himself?
Could be. I took the road, the one less traveled by. Californian psychologist, back in the early 80s, late 70s, M. Scott Peck wrote a book called The Road Less Traveled, taken from the title of this. Okay? Notice the title of the poem. Because the poem's all about what? The road taken. The title is The Road Not Taken. Not taken by whom? Anybody else. See, his road is the road he takes. That's a road not taken by anybody else. We each make our own decisions. Yeah, people can help. Sometimes people want to make our decisions for us. Okay. But the speaker seems to be saying, I made these choices, and somewhere along in the future, I will be saying, with a sigh, I took the road. I took the one less traveled by. So is the speaker admitting there some kind of, oops, shouldn't have taken that one? Because look, if the speaker is saying, I made a bad decision, then what does how way leads on to way mean? Life is not like mathematics. Life is not like a big, long, addition problem. Because what can you do if you've got an addition problem, if you've got 30 numbers you all have to add up? What happens? What can you do if you come back to the bottom and you have the wrong answer? You go back to where? To where you made your problem. Excuse me, to where you introduced the error. And then you fix it. Life? Can you do that? You pull the trigger on somebody, and you're not in Warner Brothers cartoon land. You can't go, no, and the trigger and the bullet go, bzz, and stop. And you're not in the Matrix either. How do you know? Because if you point a gun up somebody's head and pull the trigger, and the gun is loaded, what's going to happen? That person will die. They're not going to. La La Land isn't real. This is real. And the poet seems to be saying, every decision has what? Consequences. And the consequences have consequences. So, he takes something as simple and trite as going for a walk in the woods. And what does it ultimately become about? Life. Because, to take this again, how many of you have friends, family members, parents, loved ones, who love to be like Polonius and give you all kinds of advice? Think of the advice, Polonius and Laertes both give Ophelia. What's the end result of that advice in that play? She kills herself. Why? She doesn't think Hamlet loves her anymore. Did Hamlet love her? Damn sure he did. That's why he jumped in her grave at the end of the play to fight anyone who said they loved her more than he did. Okay? Well, what's the problem about somebody else giving advice? I'm not saying all advice is necessarily bad. Okay? Because some people, maybe do see a little bit more. That is, if you're talking about the two roads diverging in a wood, maybe some do see a little farther down the road you're looking at taking. Why? Because maybe they've made a very similar decision. But what does advice always mean? It comes from this. Advice, okay? If you make it the verb form, advise, and that makes it even clearer, the vise, it's related to the word for sight, seeing. The ad means to. It means, let me tell you what I see better than you see. Why? Maybe because I'm nearly 57 and you're 20 or so, and I've been around the block a few more times, and I see what kind of bad decisions lead to blah, 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 blah. What's the problem with that, however? With anybody giving advice?
It's through your perspective.
I'm the only one who wears these lenses. I'm the only one who puts these shoes on in the morning. I can't put on Kevin's shoes. I mean, yeah, literally I could. Metaphorically, nope, why not? Notwithstanding Hollywood films, where somebody wakes up in the body of somebody else, I'm made up of my background. Where I was born, when I was born, family I was raised in, brothers, sisters, all those experiences. And nobody else is. And the same applies to everybody else here. So even when you talk to your quote-unquote advisor, they're, saying, well, I know it's best for you, and you need to take this and this, and you need BS. Okay? Last one. 1107. Stopping by woods on a snowy evening. Notice he likes the woods. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Whose woods these are, I think I know. Okay, simple, short, declarative sentence. I know who owns these woods. His house is in the village, though. Though implies what? They're not near the house. The village isn't near the house. The village isn't near the woods. He will not see me stopping here to watch what? His woods fill up with snow. What's the difference if we were to turn around and look out that window right now, rather than seeing the rain come down, if it were suddenly 20 degrees cooler and that were snow? We'd all go, oh man, that's pretty. But to be outside in it, and staying outside in it to watch the woods fill up with snow implies what? If they're filling up, it's not just a little dusting. It's not just a little shower. This is heavy snow. It's not a blizzard, because we know there's not a strong wind and such. But the speaker is suggesting he's stopping for how long? Long time. He's going to wait till the woods fill up. Well, if you've ever been in the woods during a snowstorm or heavy snow shower, what usually happens with the snow as it's snowing? Where does it obviously hit first? Trees up above you. So the boughs get laden with snow. Takes a while for the woods to get filled up. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. Notice no punctuation until you get to the end of that. Why? You're supposed to read it on kind of breathlessly. The reading it on kind of breathlessly gives us an idea of what the horse is thinking. The horse wants to move. The horse is thinking, there's no farmhouse here. It's cold. I want to get in my barn. What time of year is it? Well, not only is it winter and snowing, it's the darkest evening of the year. That implies it's the winter solstice. Longest night, shortest day. The horse is personified. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake, because the horse can't literally go, but what's the problem? Why does the horse literally shake his harness bells? Wants to hear the bells? Is that it? Sleigh bells ringing, you know? No. He's cold. Why is he cold? Where's the snow landing? On the horse, as well as on the rider. But it's landing on the horse and what? Because they're watching the snow pile up in the woods. If the horse is stationary, it's piling up on the horse too. And the horse gets cold, and so the horse shakes its neck. The only other sounds, the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. Notice that, the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The sounds of those two lines are inviting, they're enticing. It's like the wood is saying, come in deeper. Notice, how is the snow described? The flakes are like what? Downy. Which means what?
Feathers.
Which is, keep going, soft and fluffy and inviting, like a big old feather bed. With a gentle sweep of the breeze. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep. By putting the lovely first, The speaker's kind of going, and I just want to go in deeper and deeper and deeper. But I have promises to keep. But introduces a turn, right? It introduces a conflict. So, they're lovely, dark, and deep, but I can't stay. Why? I've got promises to keep. To whom? We don't know. Maybe the speaker has a family. Maybe the speaker is simply delivering goods to someone. But I have promises to keep, and then we get a line repeated. And miles to go before I sleep. Why introduce the idea of sleep? Because it's already suggested. With the downy flake, this person just wants to go off into the woods and lay down and go to sleep. But he can't. Why? Promises to keep, and it's not time. What's sleep here? It's death. Promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. I mean, literally it's not. Literally it might be, and I've got a lot of miles to go before I can put my head down on the bed. But by emphasizing it, by repeating it, the suggestion is, life's what? Tiring. And I can't sleep yet. I can't go to sleep now. I've got to keep going. Okay, we'll stop there. So, for Wednesday, read Scarborough Fair, Kubakan, Pie Beauty, and to one who has been long in city pent. And I will email the copy of Simon and Garfunkel's version. Or copies, I should say. Till then, stay warm and dry.